All aboard the perpetual hype train. Murders at Karlov Manor's first look just dropped, and we're building the legends. Here we go. Hello and welcome back, and everybody, Levi here, and today we've got some brand new spoilers from the newest set, Murders at Karlov Manor. Now this one obviously isn't coming out for a couple months here. I believe it's dropping February 9th as seen in the post today on Wizards website, and they did drop a few legendary creatures on us, and one that really caught my eye. If anybody knows me, I'm a big fan of red and black, so of course I have to go over the new Rakdos, Patron of Chaos. It's 4 black and a red for a 6/6 legendary creature demon with flying and trample, which is his typical stat line there. At the beginning of your end step, however, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you get to draw 2 cards. So it's good either way. Whether they choose to sacrifice the permanents or give us the cards, it's a really good advantage either way. I think we're usually hoping to get the cards because it's probably better, but if we get to destroy some of their non-token, non-land permanents, that's also really good. Seeing as Rakdos doesn't really deal with enchantments very well, if they only have a few things on board and say 1 creature and 1 enchantment is the only thing they have on board, well, they're going to have to get rid of those unless we draw the 2 cards. So it's good advantage either way. Now, my idea for this deck, it's pretty basic. It's nothing too crazy here. This is going to be my Rakdos tribal, demon tribal, kind of incorporating the theme of Rakdos into one deck. So this is more of like a personalized deck for me because I just really like Rakdos. I like the entire Rakdos cult. I like his cards. I like the color combo. So this is my attempt at a really fun demon tribal Rakdos deck with our newest addition to the Rakdos lineup. So I'm just going to go over some of the demons in the deck. We did get some new ones not too long ago from Warhammer 40k actual all-stars in this deck. First up, we got probably the best card in the entire deck, Herald of Slaanesh, 2 and a red for a 2/2 demon with Locus of Slaanesh. Demon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and other demons you control have haste. So this is one of the most powerful quote-unquote ramp options we have in the deck. Having all your demons cost 2 less to cast is extremely important, especially considering that most demons are 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So you really want to be able to reduce those, and by 2 per, it's just insane value. Also, other demons you control have haste. The primary win con for this deck, you know, we have a whole slew of 5/5, 6/6, 7/7 flying demons up in the air, and if we can cast them and start swinging with them right away, that's just going to really help out our game plan. Another fantastic fit here, we got Nightmare Shepherd, 2 black for a 4/4 enchantment creature demon with flying. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 and it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. So this one's like a pick and choose. You don't have to do this for all your demons. If some of your demons that have static abilities or activated abilities or whatever happen to die, those are probably going to be the ones that you're going to want to bring back with Nightmare Shepherd. Not so much your giant beaters that are just there to get in for the damage because this is turning them into 1/1. So say something like your Sower of Discord happens to die, you can bring it back. So 4 black for a 6/6 demon with flying. As Sower of Discord enters the battlefield, choose 2 players. Whenever damage is dealt to one of the chosen players, the other chosen player also loses that much life. Just a fantastic way to close out a game. You pick one person that doesn't have a lot of defenses, especially against flyers, and then you pick another opponent that's going to be a little more problematic for you. Say someone that has, you know, they're playing angels or something like that, so they have a lot of flyers, and you're not going to be able to get in for damage with them. Well, you're going to pick those 2 players and just focus on the one player who can't block your flyers, and then you'll get rid of both the problems at once. Really strong, really cheap demon too. This deck is a little more expensive than most of my decks, considering demons themselves are just an expensive tribe to build because they are so popular and they're so powerful. So this one is a little more pricey than most of my decks, but I tried to get in some cheap options like Sower of Discord here where I could. Next up, we'll just go over some of the draw options here. First up, Obnick's List, the adversary, 1 a black and a red for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. It has Casualty X. With Casualty X, the copy isn't legendary and has starting loyalty X, which means as you cast this spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power X. When you do, copy this spell and the copy becomes a token. So this is really strong. If you have that 7 power demon, you can sacrifice it to your Casualty X. It comes in with your -7, which I will get into in just a moment. So +1, each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or devil, you gain 2 life. So that's always nice. -2, create a 1/1 red devil creature token with whenever this creature dies, deals 1 damage to any target. Also a decent -2 if you need it. You need a blocker or something like that. But the -7 is the real kicker here. Target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 life. Yep, that is the Grizzlebrand ability. Staple onto an ultimate of a planeswalker. Now the cool thing with this is if you have a 7 power demon that you can sacrifice sacrifice to the casualty, you can -7 that guy right away, and then you draw the 7 cards and lose 7 life. So this is a really powerful option. Plus, it's super flavorful for a demon tribal deck. Next up here, I got Kothafed Soul Hoarder, 4 black for a 6/6 demon with flying. Whenever a permanent owned by another player is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Now remember, with our commander, on the beginning of every single one of our end steps, we're either drawing 2 cards, which is what we want to do, or an opponent is sacking 2 non-land permanents, which if they do that, we're drawing the 2 cards off the Kothafed anyway. So whichever one they choose, we're drawing 2 cards. If they want to sacrifice the thing, we draw 2 off the Kothafed, lose 2. If they don't want to do that, we just draw off our commander instead. Another cool draw option here, I got Mask of Grizzlebrand, 1 black for a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature has flying and lifelink. The lifelink is nice in a demon deck because a lot of the abilities are having you pay life, just like this equipment. Whenever equipped creature dies, you may pay X life, where X is its power. If you do, draw X cards, equip 3. So it does tie in with the lifelink. If you smack someone for 7 and then it ends up dying to like a Death Toucher or whatever, you still get the 7 life, then you can pay the 7 and then draw X cards. So you're never really paying life for this as long as you get in for the damage. If you die to like first strike or something like that, then you can't. But if you hit somebody, you gain the life and then you can pay it and then draw the X cards. It's a really strong card. Another cool one here, since we want to do a lot of damage in the air as soon as we get our creatures out, I added in Bitter Reunion. It's 1 and a red for an enchantment. When Bitter Reunion enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. So just like most of our cards like Faithless Looting and other things, those are really decent options in Rakdos to be drawing cards. However, the reason I chose this one is you can pay 1 and sacrifice it to have creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. So if you have a big splashy turn where you get, say, 3 demons out with some of your other abilities I'll talk about later, you can give them all haste and start swinging right away. Next up, I'm going to go over some of the removal in the deck. Firstly, Chaos Defiler, 3 black and a red for a 5/4 artifact creature demon construct with trample. And it says when Chaos Defiler enters the battlefield or dies, for each opponent, choose a non-land permanent that player controls, destroy one of them chosen at random. Good thing about this card is if each of your opponents have an enchantment out, you can pick all 3 of those enchantments and one of them will die, which is something that Rakdos is known for not being able to deal with very well. You know, you only have a few options in red and only about 1 or 2 options in black that deals with enchantments. So to be able to have this on the enters the battlefield and the dies trigger is really useful if you need to get rid of some permanents. And of course, how can you have a Rakdos tribal deck without Rakdos the Showstopper, 4 a black and a red for a 6/6 demon with flying and trample. When Rakdos the Showstopper enters the battlefield, you flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp, and you destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. Considering there's, I think, 1 creature in our entire deck that is not a demon, devil, or imp, that being Anger, I think we are taking full advantage of the Showstopper's ability, and if it happens to destroy 3 or 4 of our opponent's things, that's really good. As long as it gets even 1 thing, it's good, because we have a 6/6 flying trampler, and that is how we're planning to win with this deck. Another really fun one, Reaper from the Abyss. Well, fun for us, not very fun for your opponents. 3 black for a 6/6 flying demon. It says at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, destroy target non-demon creature. Considering we have so much removal in the deck, if we start to kill things on other people's turns, you get like 1 per turn, and then you can kill another one with the Reaper, and then it just goes on, and your opponents are going to have a hard time keeping creatures around when you're playing a deck like this. Another cool newer demon, we got the Balrog Durin's Bane, 5 a black and a red for a 7/5 avatar demon. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrificed this turn. It has haste, and the Balrog Durin's Bane can't be blocked except by legendary creatures. When the Balrog dies, destroy target artifact or creature an opponent controls. So this one is kind of removal. When it dies, you know, you're going to destroy that artifact or creature, which is really nice. It has haste, it's a 7/5, can't be blocked except by legends. This is just a fantastic beater in this deck, and it has a little bit of protection with, hey, you know, if I kill that, they're definitely killing something of mine. So it's nice that it does have that little protection on the death trigger. Next up, we'll go over some of the ramp in the deck. Black Market up first, 3 black enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add black for each charge counter on Black Market. I think this goes without saying. Demons are really good at killing things, and they're really expensive. So when you're playing a demon tribal deck, you're really going to need a lot of mana, especially a lot of black mana, and Black Market is a great card to give that to you. Another pseudo ramp option here. We got Dream Devourer, 1 and a black for a 0/3 demon cleric. Each non-land card in your hand without foretell has foretell. Its foretell cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 2, and then whenever you foretell a card, he gets +2/+0 until end turn. That part doesn't really matter. It can, I suppose you can pump them up a little bit and then hit somebody, but we're really after the foretell ability, because early in the game, we drop our Dream Devourer, put a bunch of our demons into foretell, then later on when we cast them, they cost 2 less for each of them. So it's really strong, especially paired with our Herald of Slaanesh. If we have the Devourer and the Slaanesh out, that's reducing the total mana of our demons by 4, which is just insane value. You can be getting out 2, 3, 4, 6/6 flyers per turn or something like that when you have this combo going. It's pretty cool. And don't have to talk about these, but I kind of wanted to. You know, Rakdos Signet, Rakdos Locket, Rakdos Cluestone. They're just flavorful in the deck. I threw in the Rakdos lands as well, but yeah, the Cluestone and the Locket aren't very good. You know, they're 3 mana, but I just love the flavor, so I had to throw them in here. And then, of course, I got Rakdos, Lord of Riots, black, black, red, red for a 6/6 demon with flying and trample. It says you can't cast Rakdos, Lord of Riots, unless an opponent lost life this turn. Also, creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Seeing as how we don't have too many ways in the deck to deal non-combat damage, it's likely we're going to have to hit with our demons and then cast a bunch of creatures on our second main phase and then have them swing in the next turn. It's not really a big deal, but getting your creature spells to cost 1 less for each 1 life your opponents have lost is just insane value. I really like this card, and it's on theme. Rakdos is the best. So I didn't throw in Rakdos the Defiler. I had him in here at first because, you know, it's Rakdos Tribal, but I just didn't love the fact that it could blow up lands. I don't want it to be that kind of deck. I mean, if you want to go full Rakdos, which is probably what you should be doing in this deck, you could throw in the other Rakdos, and then it could blow up people's lands. It could not. I mean, they do have to sacrifice them themselves, so they have other options to not have their lands destroyed, but I just don't really like that. I kept that one out. Keep them in yours if you'd like to. Now, for the biggest part of the deck, the utility. There's just so many little things that work with these big giant creatures that I would like to go over that don't necessarily fit into some of our other categories. So first up here, slam dunk in the deck, Belby's Portal, 5 mana for an artifact. As Belby's Portal comes into play, choose a creature type, pay 3 and tap it, and you can put a creature card of the chosen type from your hand into play. So this means pay 5 up front and then 3 every time you want to tap this to drop one of your 6, 7, 8 drop demons, and that's some pretty good value if I do say so myself. Next up, I got Liliana's Contract, 3 black, black for an enchantment. When Liliana's Contract enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and lose 4 life. Just insane rate on that one. Draw 4, lose 4 is pretty cool. However, the real kicker here, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you just win the game. That's it. And there's a bunch of demons that are, you know, 3, 4, 5 mana that are a little bit easier to get out as opposed to some of our 8 drops, you know. So it's very possible to get this out a little bit earlier than you would think. Also, I have Emergent Zone in the deck. So if you have your 4 demons out and you have your Emergent Zone up, player to your right goes to their end step, you flash out your Liliana's Contract and you just win on your upkeep unless somebody has interactions. So really cool card, especially if you're playing in demons. Another one doesn't seem super strong, but I like it because it's a little bit on theme. Mark of the Oni, 2 and a black for an enchantment aura. You control enchanted creature, and at the beginning of the end step, if you control no demons, you sacrifice Mark of the Oni. More often than not, I don't think that's ever going to happen unless somebody wipes the board, in which case it won't really matter because the creature that's enchanted by Mark of the Oni will be dead anyway. So I like this card. Gets a little value off of some of your opponent's creatures. You know, if your opponents play something like a Sakura Tribuilder or something similar where it does things that your deck can't do, you can always steal them with Mark of the Oni. Next up, I got here Bolt Bend, 3 and a red for an instant. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, and you get to change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So this is Deflecting Swat on a budget. It's $1.23 as opposed to what, $30 or whatever for the other one. And this one only costs 1 mana as the other one is free to cast, but I think the 1 mana is really not a big deal, especially considering you're almost always going to have a power 4 or greater creature on your field since most of our demons are at least 6/6s. Another just absolutely brutal demon here. Obnixilis Unshackled, 4 black, black for a 4/4 legendary creature, demon of flying and trample, of course. And it says whenever an opponent searches their library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. There's no choosing there. You search your library when this guy's out, you crack your Evolving Wilds, you crack your fetch land, you go get a land off of your Kodama's Reach, you're sacking a creature and losing 10 life. I'm absolutely in love with the punishment effect on this guy. Obviously, your opponents are going to kill it. That's okay. If they use a removal spell on it, that's good enough for me. It's a cool effect. If they don't remove it, they're just completely screwed if they happen to be searching their library for any reason. But that's not it. Whenever another creature dies, you put a 1/1 counter on Obnixilis Unshackled. This would be just a cool commander in general, although I think you'd probably be the arch enemy if that were the case. I just really like this guy a lot. Next up here, Plague Drone, 3 and a black for a 3/3 demon with flying. It says if an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead. So just a fantastic little hate bear kind of effect in black. Obviously, our main win con is just combat damage, so if we're going up against a life gain deck, Plague Drone will help us out with that one. Very similarly to Belby's Portal, we have Quicksilver Amulet, 4 mana for an artifact, pay 4 and tap. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So pretty much exactly the same thing. However, this can get out your non-demons, which we only have like 1 or 2, so that doesn't really matter, as opposed to the Belbys, which can only get out demons. Next up, this one's fantastic. Sarkhan's Unsealing, 3 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target, which is going to happen, yeah, quite a lot, considering most of our creatures creatures are power 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. This is going to be triggering a lot. Also, whenever you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature in Planeswalker you control. So if you cast a 7-drop, you cast your Balrog Durin's Bane, this is a one-sided board wipe, pretty much. Anything toughness 4 or less is going to die, as long as it doesn't have indestructible, of course. The best part about this is it just sticks around. It's anytime you cast it, it's an enchantment. So you play this a little bit early, then you start playing your demons, and you're just getting massive value. 4 damage to any target, too. You can pick off creatures, you can shoot your opponent in the face. I freaking love this card. I have it in my dragon deck, but I think it might be even better in this demon deck. Obviously, we're in black with giant creatures, so we're going to have some reanimation in the deck. Victimize 2 in a black for a sorcery. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield. So trade out one of your slightly less scary demons for 2 definitely scarier demons. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. You could put in more reanimation in your version if you'd like, but I think just a couple options is fine for me. Last but not least, I thought we can take a little bit more advantage of our commander's triggered ability. Strionic Resonator up next, 2 mana for an artifact. Pay 2 and tap it. Copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copies. So since our commander only triggers on our end step, it's really useful to get multiple triggers if we can with Strionic Resonator. You know, if you have the budget, throw in your Roaming Throne, throw in your other copy targeted triggered ability effects. There's a few more that you can get in artifacts, but they're a little bit more expensive. So I just threw in the Resonator. It goes to your end step. You can have one player sacrifice 4 and draw 2. Maybe they sacrifice 2, you draw 2. Maybe you pick 2 different people, and we'll see how they go. Maybe you can play a little politics, especially since it's gone down in price. Only $2.50 for this guy now, which is pretty cheap compared to what it used to be. It used to be around like $8-10, but now it's dropped a bit in price. So it does fit in a semi-budget deck like this one. So that is it for my Rakdos Tribal Demon Tribal Patron of Chaos deck I just threw together. I checked the stream this morning, saw the new cards, saw that they made a new Rakdos, and I was like, man, this is the time to build it. I am in love with Rakdos. I love the flavor, the theme, everything about it. So considering we are probably going to get another version of Rakdos in that Western set that we're getting in a few months or however long until that one's out, which may take the place of this as commander, but he definitely goes in the 99, even if you want to swap out for a different Rakdos. Anyway, that is pretty much it for this deck tech. If you want to check out the full deck list, go ahead and check out my Architect link down below. And if you guys like to see more content from me, more deck techs, go ahead and feel free to subscribe and comment down below what you'd like me to cover in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one, all right? Take care.